As you just heard, COVID cases and hospitalizations are starting to surge again south of the border. Most are concentrated in areas where vaccination rates are low. In Indiana, for instance, only 52% of those eligible have been vaccinated. And remember, vaccines were available much earlier in the United States than in Canada. But there is one bright spot in this state. 70.3% of eligible residents are fully vaccinated in the city of Carmel, Indiana. Jim Brainard is the mayor of Carmel, and he joins us now. Mayor Brainard, thank you very much for joining us today. We're talking to you because you are a Republican mayor, and we've seen from multiple polls that some Republican voters are skeptical about getting vaccinated. And in the county where your city is located, you have pretty solid vaccination rates. Can you walk us through how you got there?
Well, I think more than political party has to do with educational level. In our city of 100,000 in the Indianapolis metro area of about 2 million, has about 70% of our adults have a university degree, and almost 40% of our adults have a graduate degree. And because of that training and background, I think they pay attention to science. And we have emphasized the need to be vaccinated to help those that can't be, those that may have transplants or otherwise immunocompromised. And the community has responded. We're almost at 80% of eligible people vaccinated in our city.
And one thing that gets a lot of discussion in the United States is that there are concerns that there's been some sort of mixed messaging when it comes to Republican lawmakers and getting vaccinated. For example, dozens of Republicans at the congressional level won't say what their status is amid fears that it could backfire, it could upset their base. What do you make of the politicization of getting vaccinated within the Republican Party?
I'm very disappointed, regardless of what party would do something like that. We need to trust science, apply good judgment, and care about the people around us that we could spread COVID-19 to if we remain unvaccinated. It's about coming together as a community to protect each other.
Now, in your specific community, we know that the United States has a surplus of vaccines, and it has been the world leader in getting enough supply to its citizens. How did your city actually carry this out, or local health officials in the county carry this out? How did you get those shots in arms?
We, in the beginning, one had to make an appointment off State of Indiana website. It worked very well. Actually, I happened to be a Carmel company that prepared that website for the state of Indiana. And you had to go to a county health department site. But as the amount of vaccine increased over the last few months, we can walk into any pharmacy today without an appointment or a county health facility and request any of the 3 approved vaccines. Here in Indiana, the 3 that are approved, of course, Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer and Moderna.
Now, you still have some portion of the population that has not been vaccinated yet. What reasons are you hearing from people as to why they don't want to get vaccinated?
A combination of there's always going to be 2 or 3% that for a legitimate medical reason can't be. We have another 15 to 17%. And I think some of it, people are busy or they have some hesitancy because the U.S. federal government has not yet granted full approval of the vaccines. I think that would help tremendously. I've done a lot of reading about why there's vaccine hesitancy, and I think it is the lack of full approval would if full approval were to be granted, it would be very helpful to some people who are hesitant to take it until it obtains full approval.
But are you seeing or hearing anything about the politics around this? And we've seen poll after poll out of the United States showing that it's more likely that Republican voters or people who identify as Republicans, there is some vaccine hesitancy. Is that something you're seeing in your community?
Not so much, a bit, but when we're at 80% of eligible people, that's a good, I'd like it to be 90 or 95%. but a little bit, not nearly as much as I think you see in other areas. Again, I think it has to do more with educational levels and with political party affiliation.
So what can some communities in the United States learn from your county and your community about how to increase vaccine? Because the vaccination rates differ hugely by state and by county. What can people learn from your experience to help expand that, particularly in Republican deep red pockets, whether they're states or counties?
I think two things. Leadership has to be strong. And secondly, we need to do lots and lots of clear, simple public education. We need to remind people that all of us have had polio vaccinations. All of us had diphtheria vaccinations and so on, and talk about how these vaccines have been now tested in hundreds of millions of people and are safe and effective in all but a very, very small fraction of people.
Now, one thing you mentioned there is about public education. In the United States, we don't have it so much here in Canada, but in the United States, there is an ecosystem of conservative media, mainly Fox News, and there are some incredibly popular right-wing radio programs that get huge listenership. And in some of those platforms, there has been an experience where there has been a lot of space and a lot of time given to promote a message of vaccine skepticism. From your perspective, is that a problem?
Yes, I think it is a problem. I don't think these companies are acting, the media companies are acting responsibly when they don't include both sides and have a discussion based on data and science, but rather just on opinion and how many ads they can sell.
And so do you see that right-wing media ecosystem as hampering efforts to get Americans vaccinated? Do you point to that as part of the blame?
I do. I do see it as a problem and hampering efforts to get Americans or citizens of the United States vaccinated. Certainly, we believe in free speech and freedom of expression and different ideas, but responsible companies need to focus on science and data, not on opinion.
Last question I want to ask you about is Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell announced that his office is going to be spending some of his campaign money on 60-second ads that are going to run in the state of Kentucky. Other than getting the message out through traditional media, are there other things that can be done to try and encourage Republicans to get out and get those vaccines?
Well, I think the House caucus and the Senate caucus in Washington, the Republican Senate and House caucuses ought to get together and provide talking points that they're comfortable with to help their members talk to the media. I don't think enough of that has been done, and there hasn't been a consistent message coming from the House and Senate Republican caucuses about the vaccine. Again, the Republican Party in the past has focused on science, focused on economic development. We can't have economic development if we're still in the throes of a pandemic. They are missing the big picture. We want to get our economy opened up. We want people to be able to enjoy their lives without lots of government interference. And the way to do that is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible.
One last thing I want to ask you about really quickly is that former President Donald Trump, he developed Operation Warp Speed, and it's something that is often not necessarily talked about very often in the United States. Why is it that perhaps that has not resonated with Trump supporters who perhaps might be skeptical about getting a vaccine? I don't want to paint vaccine skeptics all with one brush, but for those who, are Trump supporters and perhaps don't trust the Biden administration and the polarized situation that exists there now, is there not some way that the fact that former President Donald Trump created Operation Warp Speed that can be leveraged to maybe convince some of the skeptical?
I would hope that the former president would step up efforts to encourage his supporters to be vaccinated. I haven't seen too much of that yet, but hopefully that will happen. And many of his friends and other people that were in his administration have the have a certain bully pulpit and ability to do that and to help people in this country. This is, has been expressed by many in the mainstream media that it's now a pandemic of the unvaccinated. We need to reach out to those people and encourage them to become vaccinated, and their leaders need to do that, need to participate in that.
Mayor Brainard, I want to say thank you for your time today.
It's good to be with you as well.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.